Okay, gentlemen. So, you've probably all heard of the Online Safety Act, right? It was pretty much started in the UK, like in terms of the impact. Um, and it's finally hit Steam, I guess, and it's looking really bad. Now, as someone who's in the UK, I face the consequences of the Online Safety Act every time I want to watch it's That's right. You need to send a picture of your ID. Suck my dick. It's pathetic. But let's see what's going on with Steam.
A new law has just made Steam lock adult games behind credit cards. Not age verification, not an ID check, but credit cards. And here's the real irony of this story. The very same payment companies that forced Steam to change their rules are actually now Valve's solution to a fun bit of UK regulation that everyone on the internet has heard about, the Online Safety Act. And of course, people have heard about it because it doesn't just impact the UK.
Guys, so the Online Safety Act is, in my opinion, it doesn't have a single thing to do with kids. I think the government are using it as a Trojan horse to censor content that they don't want the public to watch, right? So, like, if you've been on Twitter, if you're inside the UK, there are so many posts that are like kind of grayed out, and you have to send in a picture of your ID to see these posts. I don't think it's got shit to do with kids. I think it's just a complete Trojan horse for the government to have a lot more control over the kinds of things that people in general get to see, because the government are completely aware that people are lazy and people just can't be asked sending in their ID, and this allows them to keep a lot more people away from viewing content that they don't like. It's pathetic.
These are global companies, but there's a problem. 32% of UK adults don't have credit cards. That means a lot of Steam users are now locked out completely. Now, Valve says that they've met their legal obligations, but have they?
Wait,
because
what?
they've certainly went a way towards doing that, but we tested them, and it's a much messier picture than it seems, to the point where, on an unverified account, we've been able to access content that, well, it seems, per the Online Safety Act, we shouldn't be able to. And look, once fully in, this law carries fines of 10% of global revenue. For a company like Valve, that is billions. Now, personally, I don't want to see Valve get screwed by an impractical draconian law that I don't support, that's now leading to the UK wanting to basically find a way of dealing with VPNs. That means that this story matters.
Right.
This is a law that inconveniences users, it opens up loads of privacy risks, and frankly, it's just not practical, and it may even make things worse for online safety, because it will force things underground, and that means we've got to talk about it. Valve says they're complying with the UK's Online Safety Act as of August 29th. The Steam support pages now explain the new reality to us, and when we go there, we see that UK users must undergo, quote, age assurance to access mature content games and their community hubs. What does that mean? Well, it means age verification. And we always knew that this was coming, but as we pointed out when the law took effect, Steam...
Guys, I do think it's important to keep in mind as well. Firstly, the Online Safety Act isn't going to be exclusive to the UK. It's absolutely going to spread across Europe. It's going to spread to the States as well. And this is something that countries have been trying to push for years. Right? Like years. Every country's tried to do this. The States tried to do it, and France has tried to do it. But it's only now the UK has been able to just throw it out there, because despite what people think, the UK is still a very influential country, and this is kind of proof, right? But as someone who's in the UK, I think this is fucking bullshit. I hate it. And the main reason I hate it is because it takes away people's freedom of choice, and I don't like that. I think it goes down a path of oppression.
Quite simply was not ready for compliance. Now, do you remember their old system? It was a tick box whenever you made your account to confirm that you were over the age of 13. And keep that number in mind because we're going to come back to it. They also blocked direct messaging until you had spent $5 on the platform, but of course, gift cards can actually bypass that. Adult content filters were on by default for new accounts, but obviously anyone could easily opt out of that. None of these measures were solidly compliant with the law. Valve knew they would draw attention the very moment a kid
So, in terms of like the adult content, is that the kinds of games that say you have to be 18 plus to play? Or would that apply to the different kinds of forms of content as well? So, like, example, you can gamble in FIFA, and you aren't supposed to gamble as a kid. It's also against the law, and it probably has some kind of an impact on the Online Safety Act, right? That kids can't gamble online, but kids are able to gamble in FIFA, and that game's a 3+ to play. So would this not be? I'm not completely understanding how it's going to impact Steam.
Access something that they shouldn't. I'm sure you can imagine, as an example, the Daily Mail headlines that would animate the government. Here's the thing. Steam already had one advantage for this.
Wait.
Government.
Woman received 6-figure payout from NHS after she developed an addiction to Candy Crush from taking prescribed. So everyone in the country has to be punished because of a retard who was addicted to Candy Crush. Really? But that doesn't. But that seems hard. But that seems unfair. No. So this stupid bitch is part of the reason why we have this shit. Wow, great.
Here's the thing. Steam already had one advantage for this. They already had users' payment card information, and the UK government had approved that as a form of verification. So it's no surprise
so how is it
Valve
not?
decided to solve that problem. Credit card verification is the policy, and credit card ownership is limited to 18-year-olds in the United Kingdom. Now, Ofcom have confirmed that it's a, quote, highly effective age verification method, and they say that among all age assurance mechanisms reviewed by Valve, that this process preserves the
not everyone has a credit card.
User privacy.
Including
you can
me.
already register a card to your Steam account, and that means that to implement this rule, no.
But people don't have credit cards because credit cards are a form of debt. I don't have a credit card because I fucking hate debt. So I'm not going to get a credit card. So is this not taking away a bunch of users from Steam? And in terms of the bank account in the UK, if you're under 18, you have a completely different account to adults. And you aren't allowed to open a bank account of over 18s until you're over 18. So why not just use the bank account system? This whole thing is so weird. I can't tell if it's just pure incompetence or if there's something I just don't understand. But if you are not 18, you cannot have a bank account that requires you to be 18 plus. You have a completely different bank account. It's so weird.
New user data gets stored. If there is a verification issue, Steam says that you should talk to your bank first, and after you've done that, then talk to them. But they also suggest something quite interesting. The risk of running up a credit card bill should, quote, act as an additional deterrent to account sharing. It's a bit weird, and to some users, parts of this seem a little bit ridiculous. They've got 2-decade-old Steam accounts, so why would they need age verification now? Their Steam account is literally old enough to be of age. A simple answer: Valve is not a trustworthy source to the UK government. Now, others wonder why Valve don't follow the likes of Discord, Reddit, or Nexus mods. Those platforms are using services like Yoti or KID to scan IDs or faces to do verification. And they're doing that for a reason. Here's why. It is about what each system allows. So Discord has got 3 verification states: unverified, teen, which is between the ages of 13 and 18, and of course, adult. Basically, they need the granularity. Discord wants to keep under 13s as an audience, whilst of course also protecting them legally and being compliant with this law. But Valve aren't doing that. They've created a binary system. Either you access all content, or mature content gets blocked. That's basically it. Now, this approach was probably faster and cheaper for Valve to implement versus integrating a third-party provider and, having to strike up business with a new vendor. Plus, there is the sort of poetic justice here that it is the very same credit card companies that pushed Valve to change their rules that they are now handling user verification for Valve.
Well,
so hey,
wait.
I guess Valve...
Was this the whole thing on the collective shout? Like, is this the same kind of company who is trying to do this? So we could say collective shout is also a big part of this then, right?
Just kind of making their opponents
completely
work
understanding
for them.
this.
That's a little bit satisfying. But there is, as always, an asterisk to this. Does it actually work? It doesn't.
Yeah,
we
probably
kind of
not.
broke it immediately. So we tested this ourselves. We used a Steam account with a debit card linked and a PayPal linked. Neither of those are acceptable to the UK regulator, and both can be accessed by under 18s. That means there's no credit card attached. And the result is, on first glance, what you'd expect. This account can no longer access...
So I've been buying games on through PayPal, and I don't have a credit card, and I don't have like some kind of ID on Steam either. The only thing I have is an account. So I wonder if you have an account, is that a bypass for this as well? Like, is this whole thing only for people who are trying to buy games but don't have an account? Or do you have to have an account to buy games from Steam? Because, like, I think if I was to go to Steam now, I'm able to buy games that are 18 plus, right? So, like, if I want, I can go and buy this. I'm pretty sure it's 18 plus. The same with this, 18 plus. 18 plus. So, I'm not going to buy this, but I'm going to add it to cart. View my cart. Remove. Yeah, it's fine. Like, if I was able to buy it, I can just buy it. So, I wonder if it's tied to you to the account you have for Steam.
Access mature content games. If you try to click on a mature game store page, you will be blocked, and you'll get a new page with a link to add
What's
a credit
mature?
card and TLDR of why you'd have to do this.
Log into your Steam user account, visit the account detail page, and click the button labeled Add a Payment Method to this account. You will be redirected to a form where you are asked to enter your credit card details, required inputs, credit card type, credit card number, CVV, expiry date, name and billing address. So, what is considered mature content? Can I ask Grok? What is mature content on Steam? like screenshots or artwork and community categories. General examples: games like visual novels and horror elements, or titles dealing with mature themes like crime or psychological distress. Not all violent games like Mafia or Red Dead. Tag this. I think it's targeted towards this one here, right? So pornographic games or mods that Valve began allowing in 2018 after policy changes. What if we give examples of adult only adult only refers to explicit graphic sexual material intended for adults. Examples would be Neg House Party with adult DLC. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to open Steam, and I'm going to do this off camera, and then I will show you the results once it's back on camera, right? Just in case it shows, you know, certain images. Okay, so we're gonna see this. See? Strong nudity. So I'm able to get this, right? So if you see here, I'm able to watch the images, assuming that this is the right thing, with the new supporter pack DLC. Is an edgy comedy adventure. Assuming this is the right one, of course, right? What about this one? Let's have a look. Wait, that's like grayed out. Under the UK Online Safety Act, Valve is required to verify that you are 18 or older before accessing mature sexual content. If you wish to do so, please add a valid UK credit card to your account. What the fuck? What about this one? Mirror. So it seems to be like porn games. So like the 18 plus games don't seem to have this. But like porn games seem to have it. The same thing here as well. This game is this, right? Exact same thing. If you go back, it's grayed out. You see that? Bro, what the fuck? So, I just want to clarify something here, right? This game, you're not allowed to play. You have to have a credit card. But I'm allowed to go and play this game here. Which is, you kill people. But I ain't allowed to watch porn. And to make it even worse, I have to have a credit card to watch these or to play these porn games. Why the fuck do you need a credit card? What the fuck is going on? What is this shit? Bro, this is so fucking retarded. Okay, so this here is completely right then. And that's someone who's in the UK. You just saw it's actually happening. Guys, I'm curious. Do you guys have the exact same thing if you're in the United States or if you're in Germany or France? Like, I'm curious if you guys have this as well.
Now, one good thing, though, through this, is it doesn't seem to be based on user tags, and sadly this does mean that, as an example, you can't mass tag Hello Kitty Island Adventure as BDSM, for a laugh. So it's altogether more troll-proof like this, and the ratings are likely part of the content questionnaire that all developers have got to fill out in Steam. We've talked about this before with age ratings, and the rule broadly succeeds at its goal. Unverified accounts cannot access mature content games, the very games that sparked these concerns. But those games get to stay on Steam. Valve gets to comply with the legal requirements, but there's a little problem. The account that we made can actually access mature 18 plus rated games.
Yeah.
Which, isn't really what was kind of intended. Baldur's Gate 3, Agony, and Hatred are all available without verification.
Yes,
so
I've just confirmed that as well.
Doesn't act like, say, a shop clerk checking your ID before you go to buy Call of Duty. At least not currently.
Yeah.
Without verification, you can't access games like Honey Pot.
Yeah. This whole thing seems to be porn games, right? But the thing is, how do they... I think it's this here. Do you see down here? It says nudity, sexual content, hentai. I think that is a big cause for it. Like, even though it's user-defined tags, it's probably tagged the same in the same order as or by the devs, because they have to create these tags as well, right? But it's just so strange. Like, so tits are a problem, but killing people is not. Gambling is not. Guys, I hate the government. I fucking hate the government.
Or the unrated version of Agony. Anything explicitly framed as mature content is blocked.
Adult,
but obviously, there
nudity,
are some gray
sexual
areas.
content.
Actually, it does get a little bit more dicey for Valve, because the store pages are blocked. As it turns out, that is not enough. The rough edges of this very rushed implementation are pretty damn clear here.
So I'm kind of curious about Grand Theft Auto 5. So if you go to the strip club, the girls have the tits out, right? So why hasn't that gone on under the Online Safety Act? And is that going to also become a thing under the Online Safety Act? Because if that's the case, we're going to see a lot more games in the future. Sensitives, because again, the Online Safety Act is going to apply to Europe and also the states as well, because all these countries have been trying to push it, and because they've seen it in the UK, this kind of gives them the gateway to push it themselves. So if you're in France, this is going to happen to you soon. If you're in the United States, this is going to happen to you soon. Just keep that in mind. It's going everywhere, unfortunately, and it fucking sucks.
So adult only is still a genre category on Steam, and our test account had opted in to seeing mature content generally. So basically, this unverified account can still access that genre page on the store. And do you know what that means? Auto-playing trailers. With, shall I say, slapping meat. Screenshot galleries that appear whenever you hover over game titles, all of which can be incredibly not safe for work. And, well, if you've browsed around that tag, you don't need your imagination to think about why. Now, you still can't reach the actual store pages, because those are blocked, but the content is still visible in Steam's ecosystem. But for Valve, it actually gets a bit worse. You can install demos for these games if the install demo button appears on the main genre or featured pages. And you might remember that tool that Steam created for Steam Next Fest, where you could easily install demos without having to click through onto the store page. Well, that feature, which honestly is quite good, it's very convenient. I think we're all in favor of doing the things that we want with less
So you're
clicks.
able to play
Sadly, that feature could now
the
get Steam
demos
in
then
trouble
if
with
they
how it is currently
appear on the
implemented.
front screen.
Because if unverified accounts can still access adult games this way, then regulators may have a problem with it. And, well, they do seem to have a problem.
The European Commission is working towards an EU harmonized approach to age verification. Exactly what I just fucking said. This exact thing isn't exclusive to the UK. It's going to be everywhere. Europe, EU, right? That's the European Union for those who don't know. To prove they are old enough to access legally age-restricted sites, starting with being over 18 years of age for accessing adult-restricted online content such as pornography, gambling, purchasing alcohol, and others. Right, but here's the thing, right? Here, the gambling, you're able to gamble in FIFA. That game is 3+ to play. But if this is targeted towards the 18 years of age category, how is this going to apply to FIFA? I bet it won't. I bet that they're not even going to change it either. But I guess we'll see.
With quite a lot these days. And we haven't even addressed the bigger issue here. Steam only blocked access to mature content games and discussion areas, but the Online Safety Act also regulates how people talk to each other to protect kids. Now, Steam's existing policies on direct messages...
Guys, protect kids, right, guys? It's all about protecting kids.
Forums and user-posted content, those are not changing under the new rules, and that's where things get dicey, because Steam's existing policies on DMs, forums, and user-posted content aren't changing under these rules. So right now, in theory, an unverified user can still access parts of Steam with content about bullying, coercion, and drug advocacy that is illegal in the United Kingdom. So, you know, you could go onto a TF2 server, and maybe somebody plays a voice clip that says, "Smoke weed every day." Bam!
Wait, so what about Schedule 1? Schedule 1 is a, what is this? No, go out. Underlay, move it. Let's have a look. I'm able to buy this, download, add to cart. It's not grayed out on the site. Yeah. So, Schedule 1 is completely fine. Even though it's about drugs. Interesting.
Feds come through your door. Not exactly. You get the point. Then there's the wider conversation. What if you simply don't have a credit card? Remember,
exactly.
32% of UK adults don't have a credit card, and those people often have good reasons. Some are protecting themselves from financial risk.
So, if you have to have a credit cards come from companies and banks. So you're going to try to force people into having a credit card, which means that these companies and banks who profit off of how can I put this? They profit off of taking advantage of people who don't understand math properly. So the government is completely okay on companies taking advantage of stupid people through the credit card system, right? Guys, I don't know about this one.
yes, you could just say, be responsible with your credit, Fivehead, and that's fair enough. But
Yeah,
if
but
it's still a
some
struggle,
people are dumb.
not having a credit card is fairly useful. Just like if you want to help yourself sticking in your diet, maybe don't load your pantry full of chocolate bars, right? You get the point. But for those people, well, they're now cut off here. They either engage with that financial model or they lose access.
But I still don't understand why credit card. Like, this has to be some kind of fucking. This has to be some kind of thing, right? To where the credit card companies, Valve, and the government are all like coming together in some fucking scandal. Because why would you need a credit card? You have bank accounts. You have under 18-year-old bank accounts, and you cannot apply for the 18-plus-year-old bank accounts if you're not fucking 18 years old. What the fuck? I don't understand. I'm losing my mind. I don't get it.
To that part of Steam. And this is especially problematic given some new reports. These reports show that this applies to store pages for games that you already own. Now, you can seemingly keep playing your game, but you better hope that game doesn't have expansions to buy, and of course you better hope that you've already left your review, because you won't be able to access that unless you have a credit card. And this is likely just the beginning. Steam have already told users that they will be dealing with problems as they arise, so well, all the things that I've mentioned today are probably on their mind, because as this law moves from its initial implementation to basically the various levels of enforcement that will roll out over months, Valve will very much want to avoid the fines that can come with it. And this is the kind of risk that happens when, well, you're operating a massive platform, which is what Valve does. Where we're at is that Valve is now theoretically complying with the Online Safety Act, and the government has got no plans to repeal this law. A majority of the British public supports it, unfortunately. And just like with other examples...
Yes, and do you know why, guys? Because the majority of the public are fucking retarded. Like the reason they support this is because we just want to protect the children. But what they don't understand is this is taking away all of your content as well. This isn't about kids. It never was. But people are too fucking dumb to understand this. Like, from everything you have seen and heard, do you support or oppose the recent rules requiring age verification to access websites that may contain pornographic material? And strongly approve, 46%. Guys, and the other important part as well is here. Well, look at the age difference, right? So in terms of, I'm assuming that percentage. So 30% of 18 to 24s are 46% in. 25 to 49, 46%. 50, 64, 51%, and 65 plus 64%. So it goes up the higher the age. And why is that? Because old people are fucking retarded. And now young people, we're the ones who now completely suffer the consequences to these old fucks who don't understand the internet. Like, what? Bro. And as you see here, look at the difference. So, strongly opposed, let's see. So, I'm still not understanding the percentage here. So, strongly opposed, 16, 17, 10, 5. I don't think this is percentage. So 16.
Examples, like say in Germany and Brazil with age restrictions, Valve will comply with the law, and that means that they are now held to the law. That also means they'll have to address any complaints against that law's standards. And we know that Valve will keep making changes to avoid more risk, because obviously, look at the fines involved with this law. And reports are already suggesting that they're telling adult game makers something new, that they can no longer use early access as a business model. because again, early access means the contents of the game, well, can be changing. So if a dev slips in a few nips, oh dear, now the game would be in violation. In a few nips, oh dear, now the game, they can no longer use.
Your app has failed our review because we're unable to support the early access of development for a game with mature themes. Now, I really don't like the early access, but the problem here is, again, it's because of this, the mature themes. So this is still going to exist on games like probably Grand Theft Auto, but that could actually change because of this, again, mature themes. Because Steam is probably going to change this by the time Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out, right? So I think there's going to be a lot more restrictions on people playing Grand Theft Auto.
Early access as a business model,
and games of
because again,
of
early
that
access
nature
means the contents of the game, well, can be changing. So if a dev slips in a few nips, oh dear, now the game would be in violation. That's obviously frustrating to those developers who maybe would want to use the early access business model. And it's not like I'm blaming Valve for this. They're tightening their grip because they basically have to. And they also want to avoid any further challenges from payment processors. So they got the payment processor problem. They've got problems with the law,
the
governments,
yeah.
and it's hard to do it all right. And the flaws in the system that I've highlighted today, those are not about us trying to tattle on Valve or get them in trouble. What we're showing is the depth of change needed to comply with this legislation. And remember, this is legislation that, as an example, Wikipedia has recently had a fairly large loss against. It's one that has actually just caused some sites to go down, to just pull their content or not be in the UK because they just can't really deal with the risk. And compliance isn't easy. These platforms were built before this law was a thing. A lot of deep systemic changes will have to happen. And this story is evidence of that, of all the different edge cases on Steam that probably make them violate the law even though they've made this change. And Valve will want to be careful because they could be made an example. The threat matters here. Remember, the threat is a fine of 10% of Valve's global revenue. That's a massive threat, and being banned in the UK, that also loses you quite a lot of money as well.
Yes, it does.
Steam cannot take that lightly. Right now, it is unfortunate that it's end users who basically get most of the downsides here.
Guys, all of this because parents can't control their fucking stupid kids. So we all have to suffer the consequences of bad parents. But here's the thing. I think the bad parents are kind of being used as a Trojan horse by the government to censor things they don't like. Like, I think kind of a conspiracy theory. But if you've seen everything going on in the UK in the past 2 years, I think this conspiracy theory becomes a bit more of a reality the more that time goes on. I think the government are just trying to take away the content that people can watch because they don't personally agree on this content. I think it's a fucking joke.
And that this is a law that ultimately, be it with VPNs or other solutions,
A bunch of fucking Karens
can get around. And that means that it's probably, maybe less people will be exposed to content they shouldn't be exposed to, but maybe the driving of things underground and the incentives for users to find loopholes and workarounds will mean that people do get exposed to...
Guys, and there's one big important part here as well. Do you really think an online safety act is going to stop a 14-year-old boy from finding a way to view titties on the internet? Really? I was 14, almost 10 years ago now. This would not have stopped me from finding a big pair of tits on the internet. This is a joke. Like this is pure incompetence on top of a Trojan horse, on top of incompetent fucking Karens, on top of old people who don't fucking understand how the internet works. And we, young people specifically, we are the ones who have to suffer the consequences in the future. Because this shit, the moment that this comes into effect in all of Europe, Europe is highly influential across the world. This is going to affect everybody in the future. And your entire everything you do on the internet, from games to films to porn to everything, is going to be a lot harder to access in the future. All because of these fucking old, stupid Karens, and because the average person in these countries, such as the UK, are fucking retarded.
More extreme things that is not out in the daylight, that resides where we can't find it on the internet. And that sort of thing is deeply concerning.
Yes,
it is.
It's
the type of second order effect that governments pretty damn bad at appreciating. That's it for this video. I'd absolutely love your take on this and your experience of this. And if you want more video, check this one out next.
This was a very, very good video. Yeah. Again, guys, this isn't exclusive to the UK. This was always going to happen at some point. It just had to be one highly influential country to push the boundary. And that happened. And now we're going to see a lot more censorship on the internet, from games to films to porn. We are starting to go down a closer path to China. We are. I'd say 10 years. 10 years, there's one of two things is going to happen. This is going to get way fucking worse, or this is going to do a complete U-turn around. But I think it's going to get worse because we still have a bunch of Karens who are in complete control of the government and all these online acts. So I think it is going to get worse, but I guess we'll see.